there's a world where there's a crypto product that isn't swapping that a non like crypto power user will use and be proud or feel proud to use. I think we can all agree that doesn't exist yet.
I don't know if there's one. Oh, god damn. I know, but like, how much brain damage do we have? Is there a normal person out there?
Nice. Another Friday. Another world top ranked golfer getting arrested and having a mugshot. Big news.
So
today,
all I saw was the Tiger meme on Twitter, and someone being like, Tiger picking up, I forget who it even was, Tiger picking him up from jail.
Scotty Scheffler
with like a big dog game. What do you do?
It sounds like there's some chaos of the course because like a shuttle bus actually killed somebody, so not a fun thing whatsoever. And then there's traffic control that the police were doing. It sounds like he drove around it, and then some officer jumped on his car, and then it was a whole thing. And then the media are like, yo, y'all are arresting the #1 golfer in the world right now. And he was like, can someone help me, please? It was rather surreal. Probably relevant to like literally only us, because I don't think anybody else. Nah, people in crypto like golf. You can't even. I got my gloves right here, just trying to show how much of part of my personality it is right now. But it's not the point. The point was good memes in golf land, which is also. Yeah. I mean, it's known for good memes generally. But yeah, we got a great show today. We got a guest that's, I think, long overdue. Very active on the Twitters and has strong opinions and out there making stuff. So excited to jump in with 0xDesigner today. I mean, I looked at the doc saying what the WTFIPDOC segment was today, and it was just said no fucking clue, which I think it was going to be the appropriate way to go do here. WorldPVP. I mean, I tried to keep up with WorldPVP the other day. That is chaos. Figure you probably love it a lot, so I'm excited to get into that. And then attention all over the timeline this last week. People talking about attention, and I don't even know what Vitalik is here. So great show. I feel like time is going to fly by again, so we should probably just get into it.
Let's do it.
Oh yeah, we're back. Episode 29 of Internet Explorers. Big 29. One before 30. It's monumental in some way. I have a very exciting show for you today. But first, Josh, how we doing?
Brain's a little cooked. I feel like it was, one of those like just very chaotic weeks where we're just doing a lot and it's all interesting and we care a lot about all of it. And I feel like I just need like a deep brain cleanse or something right now if those exist.
I've been solving that problem with caffeine and Zins, so
I should try some Zins.
I don't. Just not right. You should take a nap or take a couple of days off. I think that's good. Episode 29. We're here.
It would be nice though, like the brain, like a deep brain clean, like a brain wash. Scoop the whole thing out, rub down the bowl.
It's genuinely what I feel like I need.
Yeah.
Like y'all need meditation. Exactly. Is what you need. That's kind of what it is.
I've been meaning to meditate for like 6 months, and it just day after day just does not happen.
That's what they say. The best time to meditate is when you least want to do it. Anyways, whatever. I feel like I'm on the other side of the curve of that plan right now. Every Friday, we're back here at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, joined with Josh and Peace Node on the clicking buttons. If you're hanging out with us today over on Twitter, come on over to live.seedclub.xyz. That's where the chat is. And if you're following us on Twitter, give that Twitter post a little retweet so we can get it out to the world. It's been awesome to see hundreds of people coming in, hanging out with us live here every single week. It wasn't so long ago when that was tens.
It's true.
1,000 soon? Who knows?
We've had thousands.
We have had thousands.
Hopefully 0xDesigner pulls.
He's got some stands out there, and the 0xDesigner fan club is big. So we're going to start off today with 0xDesigner. I have a couple topics to dive into there. Then we're going to see what the fuck Peace has been doing on chain. I'm kind of scared. World PvP, since like the long-standing trend of like, oh, what if you create social context for people to transact within? People kind of do it. The trend of adding live chat also seems to be chaotic in a wonderful way. Attention. I'm assuming we're talking about Ethereum and the vibes in Ethereum right now, but I don't even know if it's a thing.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Let's go. I'm with it. I'm on the internet. I know what's going on. We got maybe a couple interesting things. We're like 5 weeks away from demo day. So if you're eagerly awaiting the internet's greatest show, the #1 live stream on the planet related to consumer crypto, that's just 5 weeks away. So keep an eye out in your email box for early opportunities to join that. We got some fun stuff planned around it, so you won't want to miss that. Yeah,
some chaotic ideas are flowing. We always need to like cross the line and then figure out how to pull it back a little bit. But
I'm worried that we don't know where the line is. You're right. You find the line by crossing it. That's the path here. All right. Well, let's jump in. So welcome 0xDesigner.
Nice. Let me switch on some audio avatars here. We're going to both be popping up. Nice.
What's up, man? How we doing?
Good.
This is great.
It's long overdue.
This is long overdue. Got a glorious message. It was this week, I think, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, and you're like, I think I'm ready for Internet Explorers. I was like, what are you doing Friday?
Well, you know what it was, right? I went to FarCon and was just flashing my badge to people I wanted to reveal myself to. And then enough people saw it where I would just be like walking through the room and like would just get doxxed left and right. So I'm like, at this point, might as well voice dox. Let's do it.
I love it. I think I don't know. I imagine that's kind of a freeing.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like the opposite is freeing, man. Could I go back and be a non? Would my life be any better? I mean, probably not, but maybe. I don't know. I think about that some days. What would I truly want to say on the internet if this beautiful face wasn't attached to
it? Well, that's an easy thing to do when you're putting work out often. Like that's hard to do for any creative person. I think for a designer, just like, you know, it's a really vulnerable, naked thing to do. Mm-hmm. Put work out every day. Mm-hmm. So the veil certainly helps.
Right. That makes sense. Is this the first like public voice appearance of 0xDesigner?
Recorded, yeah.
Oh, let's go. Internet Explorers. All right. Breaking news. Yeah, let's just jump into it. I think, have a couple of topics, I think, around, you know, some stuff you've been tweeting recently. I think this bundled app thing is something we talked about, I don't know, like eight months ago. I actually asked you to come into Internet Explorers at that time to come talk about it. And you're like, easy, pump the brakes. And so we're going to talk about it now. And then, but I think the place to start is probably just, you know, you've been doing design every days for 500 straight days or something more.
Almost. Next, like mid-June will be 500 days. So
that's, I guess, insane in its own right. So I'd love to just like take a moment to kind of reflect on, I guess, maybe both that your practice, like how's that going? Like, what have you learned by kind of just consistently showing up and doing something like this for almost 500 straight days? And then, you know, you've probably thought more about like the broad state of crypto UX than anybody. So would love just kind of a general check-in on that and kind of see what's top of mind for you there.
Well, the truth is, and I think this is kind of a disappointing answer, it's really hard to reflect on like the process and like this work because I've just been like staring at it from like a few millimeters away for so long. I haven't really had a chance to like take a step back and just think about any of it really. So I think part of the process and part of the way it's done is just very stream of consciousness. It's like, I don't know, there are different seasons. I think lately you can kind of tell that the work's been influenced by like memecoins and swapping and on-chain history. And the other day I was just having such an issue finding inspiration and thinking about what to do. So I was like, you know, let's make today easy. I'm going to go back to like one of the first 100 and see if I can like pull out one of the greatest hits and just like reframe it in a way. And I was just like looking at old work and thinking about how different the way I was thinking like this time last year was. It was very like NFT based, very media themed, and lots of other themes around like ownership. And now it's just like I've come such a long way in the way that I'm thinking. And I think part of the grind lately, because I don't know, there's different waves of when it feels easy and I can, finish something like 15 minutes. The idea comes to me. I'm just like whipping stuff together using auto layout and Figma, and days where it's like 3 or 4 hours to just think of an idea that feels right or that I feel good about. And so like it's been hard the last couple of weeks because I'm starting to realize that I'm actually not using crypto as much as I used to. And that's like, I think part of the inspiration is just like, it's so obvious to think about what problems to address, what sort of commentary to put out there when I'm just like experiencing these pain points firsthand. And, lately it's just been like, I've been passing up on whatever meme coin meta is happening, or, contract addresses that friends are sending me, or, I've just been like minting on Zora, going on FarCaster, minting friends' work. And so I think that's part of what feels so narrow now. And so, over the course of, the last 470 something days, like that process, that way of thinking has sort of changed. So if you ask me, like, what's the state of crypto UX, there's two different confounding factors. It's like, what part of crypto am I using and how does it feel for me? And then the other is like all these new interesting things that are emerging, like smart wallets and like new browsers and all these interesting products and ways that we're perceiving and intellectualizing tokens. But I think a big part of that is just like my perspective is shaped a lot by my own personal experience and like anecdotes of my own experience.
I feel like that's the only way to, I tweeted yesterday because we're talking with the founder and they said, if you're going to be in crypto, you got to be in crypto. And I think it's just like the simplest, but most true statement ever. And so much of this stuff is emergent, and I don't know if there's a way to really be useful and effective in the space without just like playing in that emergence. And there's clearly waves. I think seasons is the right way to look at it, as new and interesting things come out, and then as people start to bundle them up in interesting places. And I feel like right now we're in this place where we are quite regularly, where there's sort of like a lull in things that feel truly innovative, or in like a repackaging phase, which I love as well. A lot of buttons to click still, I think, if you're out there earnestly exploring. But just knowing a bunch of the things that are coming down the pipe, and the new sort of design patterns and experience patterns that are coming out, I feel like we're going to go back into that pretty soon. And so,
you kind of just need the one thing that, I don't know, reorients everyone around a new meta, right? Like, I feel like when Friend Tech came out, I don't know, when was that, February, March or something? Like, suddenly everything was like a Friend Tech derivative in some way. And then, right now, I think obviously meme coins are capturing kind of all the attention, and then suddenly people are starting to play games with meme coins. It feels like that's kind of a big thing right now. And there's going to be something else. And
I think we run it back too. I don't think these are like net new things. I think like I'd be really interested to see where we are in, say, 6 months, and how many of the themes that maybe you were talking about and designing around a year ago come back in maybe slightly different forms. Like, I think like the underlying discussion around low float, high FDV tokens right now is actually a discussion around ownership, and it's just not showing up in the same ways that it was around DAO season or
right.
even FP season.
I think the one thing that I'll piggyback on is that this might get more interesting when it's not one thing in the meta. And I don't actually know exactly where I'm going with this thought, but I feel like I think that's part of the problem, is that we're just like rotating. It was like 4 or 5 months ago, there was this video that was circulating the internet. It was like a bunch of ants that were like rotating around this speaker playing Thunderstruck. And the thing that I memed was like, all the 14 people in consumer crypto trying whatever the new thing is. And I think at some point it'll like sort of break out of this like runway where somebody makes something, it's the center of attention for like 4 or 5 days, and then we get bored of it and wait for the next thing to come. Like, I just wonder what the experience will look like when this chapter of it ends. It just feels like one thing at a time.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it too is just the types of people that are here are just like so novelty and like dopamine driven that we're just like constantly feed me new shit and like destroy my brain and make my brain pump. But I feel like the next like consent, speaking from current
Josh's current meta,
my brain. Yeah. But I think like, the next, like most of the world isn't like this, right? So like as we have products, I think that start to break through, I think there's going to just be more opportunity to just like, go deep and continue building on, some kind of core problem that's being solved. And those people are probably more likely to just continue using the thing that's providing value as long as it continues to do it.
Yeah, I think it's a new people problem. We need more new people.
I think, okay, so here's some context or background around like my entry into crypto and Web3. It's like was buying crypto in 2016 and then just ignored it for like 5 years. My time horizon was decades. I was like, this isn't going to be useful anytime soon. And then the cartoon monkeys thing started happening. And, I'm a big sneaker collector. So I have like 120 something sneakers that have never left the box. And so I was like, okay, this is the same part of my brain. The collective part of my brain is lit up right now. And then I started to, sort of take in all the propaganda that was coming from like Chris Dixon and everyone that was like startup adjacent. Like there was I don't know if you guys remember this, there was a time when Gary Vee was like shilling your house as an NFT. I don't even know how he became the figurehead for it, but so it started to enter my information diet. And then there was just like this light bulb moment for me where, like, I think I say this publicly a lot, but I'm just going to like reiterate it here. Interoperability is like the most interesting thing that crypto does from a product experience. And so we're still not there. I mean, we sort of are, but there's like a more elaborate version of like, I can do something on one app and then go to another app and it's changing or affecting my experience in some way. And so when we're just like rotating, like when I go to FriendTech and I go to Zora, but none of the actions that I'm taking on either of those apps are having any implications. I think that's sort of coming short of what I think is the most interesting part of like this UX that crypto unlocks that isn't possible in Web2.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that's kind of a good transition into a couple of your tweets, this kind of emotional crypto category, as I called it. So I think both the one piece has up, which one is it? Yeah, product bros are really good at logic. Token bros are good at emotion. Not a lot of people kind of tapping into both. It's really kind of, I think this tweet and piece, if you want to bring the other one up as well, are kind of really just tapping into the, I guess, like how single dimensional a lot of crypto products or crypto experiences are today. Like they're financial, which is, great. That's fun. They serve that well, but we're, I think, largely missing these kind of, lasting social contexts or experiences that are, ultimately going to be the things that make, collecting stuff on chain become this like ubiquitous consumer behavior, or, even ultimately like allow meme coins to truly just be these like identity kind of subculture affiliation signaling things that, I think is kind of the undertone or like over intellectualization we're doing around what they could become. So yeah, maybe do you want to kind of jump into some of your like insights you're thinking behind these two tweets?
Yeah, I think the other way crypto products fall short, not all of them. I think some are doing it, and I'll elaborate and I'll let you guys decide which ones are doing a good job of this or not. There's this legendary designer, like the guy that coined the term user experience. He was like the first user experience designer at Apple. His name's Don Norman, and he just like went from like cognitive scientist, worked on like tech in the late 90s, and then just became like guru, just went straight to guru mode for like the rest of his life. And now he's like teaching and writing really insightful books on design. And he has this like framework for different ways that are the different levels of design. And there's three of them. It's visceral, behavioral, and reflective. So visceral is like the way something looks. And if you think about like good visceral products, like I think Rainbow is a good visceral product. I think Family is a good visceral product. They have like snappy animations, good sounds, kind of polished, playful like personalities in their UIs. And then behavioral is just like UX, like how easy is something to use, how intuitive it is. But then like the reflective design is the thing that I don't know is coming up enough. And if I'm, all right, here, this is the truth. If I'm pointing at a brand in crypto that has really strong reflective design, I think Seed Club is a really good example of this, because I mean, you guys are supporting startups, you guys are creating content and media, but ultimately like what Seed Club represents as a brand is like this tasteful collective or tasteful collection of like ideas and people. It's like, this is oversimplifying it, but Seed Club is like a cool corner of crypto. And I don't see that in too many products. I think Zora might be doing a good job where they're like appealing to the like edginess of younger, like Gen Z culture. But like an example of reflective design is like a watch. You know, it doesn't necessarily do something that's like a Rolex doesn't do anything different than like a Casio, but it says something about you. And so like there's this level of reflective design where the product you use isn't just for utility, and it isn't just because it's like fun to play with, but it's actually signaling something about yourself. And I don't know if you guys can think of like top of your mind, if there are any crypto products that do that. Like we're swapping all the time, we're minting all the time. There's marketplaces, there's like, you know, places to collect things, but are there products that you use because it says something about you?
I mean, I think to me, this is where the scene coin meta is right now, but I wouldn't describe them as products yet in the more traditional sense. But I think like if you look at Enjoy, you look at Hire, you look at Seed Club, I think there's like a very intentional desire, both through maybe how tokens are distributed to the media that gets created, to kind of signal, both visually and I guess through how a community is curated, a certain point of view and a belief. And I think that belief is one that's sort of around curation, and it's one that's making very purposeful trade-offs versus other things that people could go do. And I think that's maybe like the biggest challenge in building this type of brand in crypto, is that all the short-term incentives really push against the type of actions that you would need to do to create things that can sort of be differentiated long-term. So maybe that would be the place I would sort of look at. It's like, there are probably lots of pockets where you're seeing founders make longer-term decisions, not jump into the new meta in a way that completely leans into pure speculation, or, the latest meme of the day or whatever, and instead is trying to put a point of view out into the world. And I guess a very hard thing to do with short-term incentives, a very hard thing to do with uncertain product direction or revenue models, et cetera. It's just kind of hard to have a long-term time horizon in crypto for a number of different reasons. So I don't know if I have a good example of that, but I think thought a lot about like the reasons it's difficult, at least.
Yeah, I think you see it at the chain level, right? Like, spending majority of your time in Solana means one thing. Like the manlets are so I guess there's a strong kind of belief and identity system there. It's like I'm not one of these people, I'm one of these people. I think kind of base and ETH is another one. I agree with scene coins, and I think meme coins. I think the challenge is still so clunky to actually, like, you just have to like vocally, you have to like tell everybody what you own to actually like socialize.
I feel like it's because there's just aren't product experiences built around those. Those are like a distribution or attention.
That's my bone to pick with scene coins, is that scene coins are doing like a good job of expressing that reflective component, but the behavioral and the visceral side of it, there's nothing tangible there. Like, and this is also really hard to do with just software in general, right? Like, I think Superhuman's a good example. And like early iPhone, when you would send an email and it was like sent from iPhone, there's like a way to express it, that you were using this product, and it was like whatever, you were associating yourself with some brand. I think scene coins, and then there's like, I don't know, there's quote unquote luxury products that I think about, like Notion Calendar, it used to be Cron, is like a really interesting thing that, or like Arc browser. It's like, if you use the non-default thing, what does that say about you? So those things exist almost in Web 2, but again, they're sort of hidden, and in the same way that scene coins are, where like you have to go to a block explorer to see which things you're associating yourself with.
It's so true, but I still like when I go to swap on Rabby, I will like avoid 1 inch and Paraswap, even if they're like a cheaper fee, because I'm embarrassed to be seen swapping through them.
There you go. That's the low.
Oh, hold on, Peace. What are your ranked swapping choices there? Like, what's number one? What's number two? Or what are in like the yes, I will swap there category?
I would swap in Uniswap, and like I used to actually fuck heavy with Sushi. That brand got trashed, which sucks. Balancer, like, no, I don't think I would like swap in a pool. I will default to Uniswap a majority of the time.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know why.
Can I say something about that too? There's also a version of crypto that transcends like the hang on, let me gather my thoughts. There's a world where there's a crypto product that isn't swapping that a non like crypto power user will use and be proud or feel proud to use. I think we can all agree that doesn't exist yet.
I don't know if there's one. Oh, god damn. I know, but like, how much brain damage do we have? Is there a normal person out there?
I do actually think Zora is the best example.
Yeah.
Here, like I agree. It's like the thing consistently. I've been doing this recently where I'll just like sit with a friend who has like no crypto exposure and show them a bunch of shit and just like see what kind of sticks and resonates. And like unanimously, Zora is the thing that kind of, I guess they understand it's kind of, Instagram, but with kind of an ownership layer. But also it's the thing that they go back to and say, can you actually like show me more of this thing? And I think if I think about my own experience, like largely why I create or collect on Zora is to like participate in Zora more than like I think long term, like the promise of it is the social context, like the things I collect actually matter in some way, or the people that collect from me matter in some way. But like that like social graph is pretty underdeveloped on Zora, but it just feels good to, I don't know, participate in that brand.
Yeah, I think the things that I point to Zora for these things are like they use very internet native visual like affordances. Like they use, I think it's like Arial or some narrow font that has like a vibe to it. Their use of symbols with the Zorbs is very distinct. They're doing a really good job just from like a marketing perspective of like targeting photographers, designers, creative people. And it's like in that way, the content or like the feed is a scene in and of itself. And I think that was what early Instagram did really well, where they just had this like status game of that attracted a lot of photographers, like professional photographers that were trying to one up each other on who could create like the best visuals. And I think like this is sort of stuff that's happening like under the hood where, you can kind of get the vibe here just by swiping the feed and seeing like what type of creators they're attracting. And then, so even on the right-hand side, this is like a very distinct thing where their character spacing is really tight. And they're just trying to be very geometric about the way they're presenting information and like using somewhat narrow fonts. And that feels like rebellious if you think about that in contrast to other Silicon Valley brands that have like really rounded text. There's something that's like there's lots of just very subtle nods to like edgy presentations of all this stuff. And then I saw Jacob cast something today about like a new layout for Zora profiles, and he was recasting or retweeting somebody who had like a soft gray background and purple text. So they're letting you customize your profile the way MySpace used to. And that feels sort of rebellious and contrarian in a way. And to me, that's like another good example of reflective design.
I love it. We're getting into some topics we've just not touched on or explored. This is great. Okay, let's slide over to bundled apps. So I guess context here. I put bundled apps because it's less triggering than everything apps, but I
hate that you did it.
I like calling them everything apps. I think so. I dug this up from the Twitter archives, but I think there was this point kind of, I guess, November last year where both me and 0xDesigner were kind of circling around this idea, largely agreeing on it. I think Jess, at some point, I think it was on an Internet Explorers episode that I brought it up. You pushed back. I think it was largely like a nomenclature thing, but now that we have 0xDesigner here, I wanted to resurface the conversation and just kind of check in, because I think like, you know, it's now with the emergence of scene coins, it's kind of more interesting with like the current consumer crypto narrative and the opportunity to like commoditize infrastructure and kind of, you know, vertically integrate. I think kind of more interesting. So yeah, do you want to kind of surface your like insights or thinking behind this, and then yeah, we can see if Jess disagrees.
Yeah, I do. I actually want Jess to start, because I remember the episode where you guys were talking about this, and Jess was talking about like Eastern and what, I don't know. He had like this hypothesis, and there's like this tension in the way that we see this, and I'm like at my computer just yelling at the monitor.
I'm ignoring his comments.
No, so I would love to hear Jess's like thought progression since then.
I think that the root really is the definition here, right? And so I think in the broader internet space, when we talk about everything apps, it sort of is like the, you know, the WeChat versus and sort of the WeChat everything app, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, you know, the Western sort of social networks being more siloed, or at least like they're, you know, unbundled in a certain way. And so I think like the idea of where attention is aggregated and what type of user behavior sort of emerge from that, I think is like the thing that I was pushing back against. Like, I don't believe that most people are going to interact with everything in crypto through one app, in the way that a WeChat kind of has, you know, your chat with your friends, you know, your Instagram, your ability to order Uber, all those sort of things at one, your payments, everything in one place. I think for, a number of reasons, one being just that we don't have an experience with that here in the Western world. I think that there's also like a ton of identity and belief that's kind of exists around the ways people want to show up in different applications. So that creates seemingly a desire to sort of participate across multiple different applications. So I think like the idea that I'm going to interact with everything in crypto through one app just seems very foreign to me and unlikely. But I think when you call it bundled apps, or you start to think about individual scenes emerging and being able to bring infrastructure into that, or I think we talked about Friendtech recently, where there's like a ton of at least a strong business reason. I think you can debate the long-term strategy around it to kind of keep everything contained in a certain world. I think that's different in my mind. So maybe that's the right place to start.
Is that silence the space for me to jump in?
Yes.
Get in there.
Yeah, I think some of it is nomenclature. I think bundled apps is good because bundled apps feels like the gateway drug into everything apps. And I think the reason bundled apps are is like a really important label for it right now is because one important reframing is, if you think about the state of crypto right now and our touch points with it, like crypto is the app, like blockchain is the app. We're only doing a few things. We're swapping, we're listing, we're minting, we're creating, maybe following each other here and there. And just like, we have like a little bit of social context sprinkled in. And so right now that's super fragmented. It's like, if you take, Twitter, and you have like the messaging aspect of Twitter and the feed aspect of Twitter and the creating aspect of Twitter, and you say like, okay, these are better served as like independent apps. It's like, no, I actually want to do all these things in one place and then go buy my toilet paper from another app. Like, okay, sure. Those are distinct experiences where you can be like really optimal in the way that you're like architecting them. I think all the things that we're doing on crypto right now are better when they're together, because the biggest pain point is the ping pong that you have to do between wallets or between an extension, and the connecting and the security that comes with like interacting with multiple apps at once. I also think this is like, I'm putting my designer hat on for a second, because I think it's like a very designer thing to say, but there's just so many reference points throughout history of products where like, if the creator takes a stance and minimizes choices and has a point of view on the way things are supposed to be done, as opposed to giving the user the option to choose how they want things to be done, like history tells us that that is considered good design. I think early Apple became really famous for this. And I don't know, Peace, I don't know if you want to pull it up, but last summer I posted a thread on luxury software that like someone will like just build a brand around a way of doing all the stuff that we're doing in crypto these days, like today, where like you could probably build a cult following on just a minimal version of all the things that we're doing because it's so cohesive. Like if somebody has one point of view and they're combining all these things together, like you could probably create a really interesting user experience, even though the trade-off is like a set of features or like a robustness. Just the cohesion can probably lead to some successful product experience. I mean, I can keep rambling on this.
Well, I think
like,
yeah, you absolutely blown up our schedule here, but the people like it. We're getting a lot of wonderful replies on Twitter. People are loving this stuff. I think actually that reframing of Ethereum as like the everything app, or like the layer one being that, is actually really interesting. And so I think like one of the core questions that's still unsolved, and I think we probably get to it in a later topic if we get to the attention topic, is this question of like, in Web2, the business model is aggregating attention, right? If you have the eyeballs, you can serve ads against it, you can drive sales. Like that's the world has sort of coalesced around a very small number of networks that have been exceptional at aggregating attention, and a big part of that is being able to control all that data that exists there. In crypto, composability, open data, etc. There's a big open question around what the business model that actually can help realize that value, right? And I think this idea of I think that is a big open question. But clearly, look, the one place that is actually aggregating is at the the chain layer where we're participating, right? That's the story of Ethereum. It's the story of Solana right now. Arguably, it's the story of some of these L2s. So I think through that lens, the idea of there being a type of, there being a world that you can go participate in, and then like the bundling of features together in a way that makes that more aligned with a status game or identity or just purely sort of a better user experience makes a lot of sense. So,
I mean, it's ultimately it's like the scene coin thesis, right? It's like, can you launch a token into a scene that really aggregates the attention of it, and then can you build products that ultimately serves that attention base in kind of the ways that they uniquely want to be served. Obviously having some ownership and value capture for the scene is important there.
I think that point right there, actually, like this sort of gap that exists between what exists now and what could be, and introducing this idea of really opinionated design decisions around creating a space for that scene to come together to do the consistent things that they are doing on chain, is actually probably the biggest opportunity for a brand like Enjoy, or for a brand like Seed Club, or for probably any other teams that are sort of playing on top of at the application or not the infrastructure layer. So I love that. I'm worried that we're going to just get lost in even more esoteric conversations here, though I love it because you've actually unlocked a couple ideas in my head that I want to talk to you more about. But yeah, I feel like we should stop talking to 0xDesigner because this is your brain more? Is this? It feels slightly medicated for me, actually.
I'm awake. Me too. I feel I'm so much better now than I was 38 minutes ago.
We have to do this again, man. I think this was super interesting, and I think it also speaks to. I think there's so much value in, I guess, what we call sort of the design category in crypto, and I think it's just like grossly underserved in like the discussions that happen. And so I encourage you to get out there more, man. I think you got a great point of view, and there's a ton of value to be unlocked, I think, from builders, founders, and even explorers just engaging with the world that, I mean, most of us just don't engage with as much or as deeply as you do.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And this is great, guys. By the way, I blame Josh for this because I was messaging with him before we jumped on and asking what we were going to talk about. And he included bundled apps in the list of things. I was like, are you sure? That feels like an hour-long conversation.
I think I would love to have the hour-long conversation with you about it, because I think I will fight to the death around the everything app, but I think I'm pretty bullish bundled apps and
many everything apps.
Heard it here first.
I think that's a thing, right? Yeah.
Oh, the Mini Things app is pretty good.
That's it. Oh my God, I like it. The Many Things app. All right, man. We're very excited to see you approach 500 days. It's a monumental achievement, really, and make sure that you give us a heads up around that so we can make some noise. Collecting the 500s will be a big and exciting thing. And if you're not following 0xDesigner on Twitter yet, go do it. You can follow him on Zora as well. And thanks for doxing yourself voice-wise here today with us on Internet Explorers. Oh, Comic Sans, baby. Let's go.
Love it.
All right.
Peace, you're up, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
What the fuck is Peace doing on chain?
What the fuck is Peace doing on chain?
It's so good. I mean, Joseph, have we minted that yet?
No, we haven't.
Come on, let's go.
We could bang it on there, but it's hard to say, what people want to mint and what they don't want to mint. It's
let the people choose Peace.
Let the people choose. Fair enough. This was so this is a cool one. I loved this. So like yesterday, SEO7, we had Jesse come on. Someone must have been referencing this. They were like asking him what he thought about like Web3 browsers, etc., because we've seen them come and go. Like we've seen Mist, we've seen MetaMask try to like push that, but these guys come out like bang on front and center and say the social on-chain browser, and it's just a wallet, and it has an activity feed and it has a browser. And I banged my keys into it and minted some stuff, and it's totally chill. And I think other people should do that, but probably not with keys that you find valuable, because I don't know anything about the security of this app. Although they do let you store your private keys on iCloud in the same way that other apps are doing, like Rainbow, etc. And it's awesome. Also using Arial Narrow, really coming for Zora here, but maybe they're in cahoots. Crossroads logo is nice, on brand for the name Rome. It's cool.
They're legit, by the way. This is Zen's the founder. I think he's actually going to probably call it Internet Explorers next week and talk about it. But yeah, I think Jesse's point was, or the conversation was around whether, building like, crypto embedded browsers or wallet embedded browsers or wallets that just very seamlessly and integrate into the browsers we're already using is the bigger opportunity.
I don't know which is a bigger opportunity, but eventually someone's gonna dial capture, which is cool.
His point, which I think is true, is like trying to get somebody to change a default browser is probably far more difficult than getting them to, adopt a new wallet that is useful across the browsers they're currently using. And I think I agree with that. But I think like, to me, that this is more interesting from, we saw this with interface, this idea that there's all this data that's being created. How can we bundle it up in new, interesting ways and explore adding social layers on top of it? I think, we talked to Dennis around Kiosk, who's doing that with sort of a Farcaster client focused in around scene coins. So I think to me, that's like the interesting thing when Josh, when you're talking about, identity and sort of status and the games that can be played there, that sort of existing in a place where that's relevant, I think is key. You talk a lot about social context. So,
I mean, that is not the thing that interested me with this. My feed was full of bullshit and didn't care. What was interesting to me was that I typed in a URL, I signed a transaction. There was no face scan, reading anything. Like smart wallets are cool. That being portable is fine, but like the way signing passkeys feels isn't as slick as this was. So my 2 cents.
New UX patterns are fun. I really hate how much they made it look like Zora. I feel like that's a miss.
That was a miss. I agree. Okay, so this one, can we just bang on a hard refresh? This is awesome. This is another thing I was doing on chain. Syncing network. This is great. So this is like, stump unit. They take off your arms and legs and they put you in this pod. And then it's like,
I'm glad we're here, because that last product was just way too serious for you.
Yeah, it was way too serious.
So this is more what I was expecting.
So
So you have no legs.
who knows what keys I did this with, so I can't get in there. But basically, like, it's on Redstone. I put in like 0.005 or something last time, and you get 21,000 interactions. And the premise is it's like all a text-based game that you like type in your next steps, and you have to hook. You have like three. You have 3 tanks and these inputs and outputs, and you are a stump in a pod with no limbs, and so you have to buy bugs and route your tanks in order to produce piss and blood and fill those tanks up, and like that's your job. And it's a text-based game, and it's cool. This cursed machine.fun.
I've seen that all over my timeline recently and have been too afraid to click buttons. So thank you for diving in.
Two pieces here for.
Still have no clue what the.
I know I'm bummed. I don't want to. I won't get into it here, but
yes,
so it's worth going to this cursed machine on Twitter. Like, we should go there maybe real quick. Just give them the plug.
I mean, we're seeing a bunch of. It's interesting to see like very early game formats start to emerge, and the simplicity of those, I think, being useful places to layer on the economic primitives of crypto, rather than like, it just seems far more likely to me that some like a text-based game or like an early pixel-based game that you probably would have run on Windows 3.1 would be the right format to go fuck around with more complex financial engineering than some AAA game type thing.
Totally. Well, and see, I can't wait till I get here to like skin cream and fat, and like, yeah. So I'm not there yet. I'm still producing piss and blood. Such is life. Okay, but the last actually really cool thing, this is a fun UX thing, is Sound Capsules. And this is from Sweetman. And so if I go over here, it is a 6551 token wallet, and they've made it for music NFTs. So I have this wallet, like, and I just like threw in a bunch of chaos songs that I have, and it gives me this sweet player to listen to it. And now
That's cool.
like everywhere, basically, this, if you're on OpenSea, it gives you the same menu, and you can like check out the playlist. And I could list this with the sum total of all the tokens in it, or we can get into all that kinds of fun and speculative UX stuff. But it's a sweet thing. A lot of transfers.
I hadn't thought about 6551 in a while.
Yeah, I know. It's cool. I love the UI too. It's really pretty. So that was my week. Redstone, Rome, and Sound Capsules, baby.
Well, thank you for holding back the Remilios, because I know you were still deep in that world.
Yeah, it's true. And the dev docs, and the picture looks so much like Dave Hoffman. I was scared shitless. I was like, holy fuck, is that Dave Hoffman? It's not. It's not. Yeah, apparently he's Russian. We're bullish.
That's what that's what your post in our chat was.
Yeah, I don't think he's actually Russian, but anyway.
At the end of the day, nothing happened other than the dev is Russian. That is about it. All right, let's jump ahead.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so WorldPVP. So yeah, last week we had Wormoji on, talked about, you really like the idea of, productized memecoin consensus. I'm just going to keep saying it. Building in the context of rug.fun, which they launched. I think they actually since launched a couple new games. Clearly haven't figured, like, the gameplay is fun while the game's going on. Trying to figure out, who loses and who wins is fun. But then, the charts post game were just brutal and ugly as well. So they just, they haven't figured out the meme coin, the consensus building piece of it, which ultimately, like, I think it's just a huge part of people's willingness to play, is the slight possibility that something goes 1,000x on the back of it. So anyways, I think, there's another, meme coin centric game that emerged this week, which is really building on the backs of the country coin meta, which I think is an interesting component of it. But basically the way this game works is it's called WorldPVP, and every country has a coin and basically the countries are competing to see who can have the highest market cap. And at the end of these like shortening intervals, I think the first one's 7 days, but they're going to get progressively shorter. The top country basically gets a nuke that they're able to use to nuke another country and basically steal their liquidity. And the president of every country is the person who has the highest, who owns the most tokens. So the president gets to decide who they nuke. And basically this game will continue until there's one country left, and that country wins. And then who knows what happens after that. But there's some interesting other components you can see. So people can pay to actually like decorate their country. I think you can pay like 0.015 ETH and choose the image that goes in your country until someone else does. You can pay to send like global announcements or something. So kind of some, meta games you can play on top of it. But the game's made, I think, 700K in fees so far. Majority of this is from like the 2.5% trading fee on actually buying country tokens. But I think like in this kind of idea of meme coin consensus building, I think it's like an interesting net new experiment on top of what Rev.Fund did, because it's a long game. So this is going to, I think, take months to end. So it'll be interesting to see what impact that has. They increase social area. So basically like every country has their own like Twitter account that I don't know if the president or someone that owns or whatever has created. There are all these like fake news organizations on Twitter that are like emerging. So there's this kind of the like social surface area that's emerging on top of this. It's just way bigger than I think what we've seen before. And also it's like playing on top of an existing meme coin meta. So, I think it looks likely that USA wins this too. There's already a USA meme coin at like 60 million market cap. So if this game continues getting attention, it lasts for months, people are really like coordinating around it. It'll be pretty interesting to see what happens post game. Does it just die off? Is there like a head-to-head battle on like USA meme coins? Like I have no idea, but kind of a fun game worth checking out. I think probably, yeah, go ahead.
It's interesting to think about if there is a possibility like that. I think the consensus meme coin discussion is very interesting, and like this intuition that platforms might be like the way those get birthed into the world in some way, I think is actually worth maybe a deep exploration, because I'm not sure that's necessarily true, and or maybe I would have agreed with you more in other contexts, but in this one I feel like it's more difficult to, like, it's hard for me to imagine. Well, maybe. I mean, the idea of like a community of people truly being involved in the creation of the value around a token is kind of core to what becomes consensus or not, ultimately. And it's interesting.
Yeah, I really don't have an answer. I desperately want to know the answer. I think it's very possible that like you need kind of the organic internet natural selection. Like you need the trenches for these meme coins to actually reach consensus and have those kind of early communities. But
if you have a whole news organization, you have the whole media that's built out as all that sort of stuff comes out, I think that's super interesting.
So that's really why it's like, I think there's probably
heavy lifting here. This is craziness.
I think it's easy to like dismiss this stuff. And I'm sure a lot of people are like, why does Josh care so much about these fucking stupid?
No, they're right or die.
They're right or die. They're right or die. But I think like, I think I am very convicted that there's meme coins are going to be core to, some very large companies that get built. And I think ephemeral meme coin games are likely to be a part of them in some way.
And that chat is truly unhinged.
Oh,
it's kind of amazing.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Well,
tens of people are having fun here. What is it? Is that the dollar amount in the bottom there? Is that 178?
Yeah, there's like I think there's been there's like a couple $1 million in liquidity, like $6
Any ideas
million.
It reaches? It's kind of got a pumped up fund dynamic, right? It reaches.
Yeah. If you exactly hit 300K, it goes on to liquidity gets locked and goes on to Uniswap. If not, it just stays on the bonding curve.
Yo, I fuck with this Guinea Somalia alliance. In fact, I think I have like on vibes alone, Somalia is tight. Hates Cyberprince, loves the guinea pig. This country is awesome.
Look, Somalia is coming for your tokens.
There's been like alliances made on Twitter between presidents, and they've been buying like the coins of other countries, and people are fucking playing the game.
I love it. All right, let's move ahead.
All right, let's move on. Yeah, so attention is all you need. So Delphi dropped a good report that's unfortunately paywalled. But I think really it just like runs through the state of attention markets in Web 2, largely focused on ads, and Web 3, which is obviously, largely tokens and meme coins right now. I think majority of what in there probably isn't going to be news to anyone reading this, but, it does kind of provide a nice holistic overview of what's happening, right now in the attention arena and kind of how we got here. But I think the one, just, I don't know if you read it, but the one really interesting thing I think coming out of this for me was like the open question that they kind of ended with about just what comes next. I think I didn't put a lot of thought into just, how disruptive the like rise of chat and voice-based AI is going to actually be to these ad-based business models. Obviously, Google is kind of the first order attack if no one's Google searching anymore. But I think, other platforms are probably also heavily at risk. So I think just like, obviously seeing how good at crypto is at capturing, attention, and they actually talk about crypto as a net new distribution channel in the report, which I think is kind of an interesting framing. So I think just, what comes next, and, as the internet reorients around AI and crypto, like what are these kind of attention capturing business models of the future? How do brands reach consumers?
Can I insert one thing here to add to this? Because I was watching this old documentary with Mark Andreessen and Jim Clark, and they were talking about the formation of Netscape. And Jim Clark literally just says, like, we don't know what the business model is, but we think if there are 50 million people who use it, we'll find one. And like Netscape very famously like didn't find one. And I feel like that's a really important part of history to like insert in here before we're just like attention is all you need, etc.
So a guy who's been doing some of the best writing on this is Ben Thompson from Stratechery. He defined, aggregation theory, which was like the business model of the internet. And so, I think one of the things he pointed out on a recent podcast was just how long it took for that for like the newsfeed to develop, and the sort of the most epic business model ever to develop. Google obviously with search came before it, but it was till 2007, 2008 until sort of the feed-based experiences of the internet emerged, and thus like the advertising business that Facebook offers kind of emerged, and YouTube, etc. So I think there's sort of like a big timing question, and often first movers don't solve it, and that these things often take a lot longer to figure out. And I think it's very clear that generative AI and AI tools are reorienting a lot of the ways people will use these tools, and thus the business models around it. And I think the interesting piece that he's talking about most recently is looking at the OpenAI and Google in discussions with Apple, and potentially like hardware and these even more integrated centralized products being kind of the future here, where you can imagine Google having all the infrastructure to serve generative AI to billions of people, and wanting to own more of that by really deeply integrating that into Pixel, and sort of stepping away from Android as like an open platform, and Microsoft and Apple and OpenAI needing to sort of form a coalition to be able to compete with the Google machine. So I think there's just like a lot of stuff up in the air right now, and of course there's billions of dollars worth of investment going into AI generally, but AI needs crypto and crazy valuations. So platform shifts are a big thing. The big difference this time is that every major tech company and investor is like very aware of the disruption that can come from it. And so a ton of money is being invested into the stuff right now.
Right. It's kind of crazy how much Apple missed this, like having Siri for so long and just not investing in it, or I don't know, maybe they didn't have the talent, or I don't know what happened, but it seems like
Steve Jobs would not have missed generative AI. Let's just say that.
I believe that. Yeah.
All right. Let's move on.
Using the Netscape example, like just straight up, maybe they haven't missed it is the thing. Like
it's not over for sure.
It's
very unlikely they're going to go run their own AI to compete with Google and OpenAI. More likely they partner. And they just need to build the best experience, right? Like as soon as ChatGPT is cool now, as soon as it comes out on the app, where you can have those near real-time conversations, but nothing's going to beat me being able to just say, "Hey Siri," and start that conversation, or push one button on my phone. So the integration points here are going to be pretty valuable.
Totally.
All right, we're at the top.
We're at the top.
All right. Yeah, through really quickly. I think, I don't know, we're just back to Fudland. I think it was funny. I think it was late last year we had kind of a similar conversation around Ethereum not having a narrative. It was kind of sandwiched between the Bitcoin Solana narrative. I think now, like Solana ETH has just hit an all-time high. I think Solana for the first time ever had more like economic activity than Ethereum did in a day. So I think, maybe the fundamentals look slightly worse than, they did back then. I think maybe the bigger problem, and I think this guy tweeted it also, is like Ethereum's potentially becoming like the less cool place to build compared to Solana. And that actually seems like the bigger risk here, right? Like, we're obviously convicted that consumer products are what's going to create the most value looking forward and obviously bring the most people in. So if the cool place to build is not, ETH or Base or something, then there's risk there. But we also had Jesse on yesterday, and I think what Base is doing and their conviction on the Ethereum ecosystem is probably the savior of everything.
This is just bear land. People are going to be all bear hurt until numbers go up. I mean, I think even today, if this tweet landed today, it would be a lot less interesting than it landed yesterday, the day before, when ETH is, back up over 3K, et cetera. So, but I think like the big question in my mind is like, is Coin a better exposure to Ethereum activity than Ethereum?
Well, exactly.
Like, that seems like a big issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me a lightning round. Give me one.
What do we have here?
Oh, this one's kind of a longer. I just like seeing people using coins. Pump my bags.
Okay, one more.
I just like it when people.
Oh, this one's great. It's so good. These are my last brain cells.
Am I going to read this? Is this?
I'll read it out loud. Cartoon Duck is bearish memes and flipped his profile pic upside down, which he famously did in 2018 when he crushed the bear market. But Ansem, future mayor of New York City, is fervently disagreeing. We're running out of GCR permutations based on ethnicity, so now we've called the Cartoon Duck Gay GCR. Named after the bird dude who has one of the best public track records in long-term predictions. Most people seem to think the Cartoon Duck is washed and are dunking on his takes based on meme outperformances relative to other sectors. But the confidence of the reply guys is worrying some traders that the very idea of the meme cycle topping is a prima facie non-starter for them. The WIF 1 second chart is a war zone. Raul Powell just came out with a 15th version of some macro liquidity thing called Banana Zone, and Huss is using Saudi sovereign wealth to long ETH. So the market's trying to price upside down Cartoon Duck and militant reply guys versus meme coin strength and it's in the Banana Zone.
All right, folks, we're back here every Friday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. That's episode 29 of Internet Explorers. Keep an eye out for our fun announcement about Demo Day. We got some incredible SEO7 teams bringing some dope products out into the world very soon, and we'd love to have you there. I feel a golf course calling my name this weekend, Josh. It's very exciting. We're shooting for 80. Let's go, baby. I'm very excited for all of you to have joined us today. And thanks to 0xDesigner for choosing us to voice docs himself, and for that was a fun conversation. I love it. Opened new ideas for me as well. So, all right. Well, we'll see you guys on chain. Until next week.